Stellar Blade is just about here. The reviews are out, they're pretty positive, and people are going to be able to play it in the coming days. Why is it such a hot topic of discussion though? Because go back 10, 15 years ago, if Stellar Blade was a PS2 game, we got something similar, it came out then, no one would have really cared. It would have been a run-of-the-mill action game. Some people would have enjoyed it, but 2-3 months later, it probably wouldn't be talked about much again. It's just sort of your average, fun video game. That's about it. But Stellar Blade itself, because we live in Clown World 2024, there's been a lot of controversy. And the reason I'm kind of recapping is because there's been some revisionist history going on. Despite all of the meltdowns, the hot takes, people saying things like, oh my goodness, this game is going to destroy feminism as we know it, the male gaze, it must be stopped. These gamers, they need to be re-educated, their worldviews changed, they're incels, they're evil. All that sort of talk was going on, and people even suggested that Sony themselves were evil for even allowing Stellar Blade to exist in the first place, for supporting it on the PS5, which is where it's releasing. Sadly not on PC at this stage. But the revisionist history, these people are pretending that never happened, that they never really criticized Stellar Blade all of that much, and instead they're trying to reframe the discussion. They're pretending instead that the people who don't support, say, Sweet Baby Inc. or DEI, obsessive DEI implementation in video games, they're pretending that it was only the people against that sort of stuff who were talking about Stellar Blade. And they were holding Stellar Blade on a pedestal, going, this is the anti-woke game that we were waiting for, this is it. Sure, maybe some of that happened, but they're literally pretending that that was it. They're pretending that one side of the aisle only was going on and on about Stellar Blade. Well, I'll tell you this, most people talking about Stellar Blade in a positive light were just defending it from insane weirdos who were doing things like doxing, harassing, insulting the developers. They called the lead dev, oh, he's an incel, he's never seen a real woman in his life. Turns out he's happily married. The main character, Eve, these people are saying, no woman can ever look like this, it's a male fantasy, this is horrible. And then it turns out that a real Korean model was used as the basis for Eve, and the devs had to defend themselves from harassment by presenting that information. So they were getting harassed. It is funny because I remember years ago with The Last of Us Part 2, you had Abby, who just didn't really look like a woman, let's be honest, most people were saying it, and then these same people insulting Eve today, they were defending Abby, they were finding like a 1 in a million woman who's like a bodybuilder and saying, look, it's possible, who cares that it's a zombie apocalypse and there's no food or anything, but Abby's definitely realistic. So it's just that hypocrisy, we always see it, but there's some very good examples of this revised history, and one good example to bring up is Mark Kern. He often talks about this stuff. He said today, I told you to pin this tweet about Stellar Blade, was I right? Even Kotaku likes the game now and cites Bayonetta. Every review giving it 4 out of 5, 8, 9 out of 10. So a lot of the mainstream video game publications, despite originally putting out articles, probably just to generate clicks and excitement from the people melting down about Stellar Blade, they were saying things like, oh, it's sexist, the game's been ruined by Eve's character design, look at her body, oh my god, it's making me cry. They've shown their true colors, because a few weeks ago it was convenient to shit on Stellar Blade and talk about that nonsense. Now they've realized, well, we need to put out objective reviews because the people who are actually going to buy the game, they want to see an objective review. They're not going to click on it if it's just another Hogwarts Legacy clown show where they don't really review the game. They spend 300 words talking about their personal political reviews. So they have to review the game. There might be a sentence or two talking about the controversy or whatever. They're just doing that so they don't get cancelled by the same people they've pandered to for years, like Polygon, Kotaku, and so on too. But apart from that, they're putting out reviews. I think 7s, 8 out of 10s are probably fine. There are some people suggesting it should be higher. I think you might be reaching with that. At the end of the day, while it's great that the game is focused on entertainment first and there's none of that crap in there, I also don't want to see a world where we pretend sort of average, decent games are way better than they are, purely because maybe we like the politics of them, which in that case might be non-politics. There's less of that DEI nonsense. I don't think that automatically makes a game good. It's still going to be well designed. You look at Elden Ring, it's got no nonsense. It is incredible. A game like this, in my opinion, is probably not close to that, so we probably shouldn't go too far with it. But Mark does bring up that back at the start of April, when all this blew up, he did actually say gaming journos love to lie and revise history, which is exactly what is happening. They panned Nier Automata for sexism until gamers propelled it to the top of the charts. Then they changed their tune to hop on the bandwagon. They will do the same with Stellar Blade, which they are absolutely doing. They're no longer talking about controversy, they're just reviewing the game. It's probably going to sell pretty well. That'll be the end of it. It was just the crazies who are really popping off about it and getting really upset and mad. There's a really good breakdown here. So someone has kind of compiled a lot of this revisionist history, and to summarize, they say, now that Stellar Blade is out and got some pretty good reviews, 82 on Metacritic and so on, the Redditors and Twittards are rewriting history in real time, saying that there was no drama around the main character, and the only ones that cared were cringe chud grifters that tried to drag the game into the culture war. Now again, most people who were talking about Stellar Blade, they were pointing out the madness, the amount of people who were melting down about it. If there was no controversy, this would just be another game, and people might say, cool, after Sweet Baby Inc., it's nice to see a game that doesn't care about pandering, there's an attractive main character, it is a game that probably is designed for men, and if we want to say the male fantasy, I see that as a good thing. It's a nice escape, it's something for everyone to enjoy, and I'm sure there are women who are enjoying it as well. Many of them have pointed that out. But if we go back to, say, March 29th, about a month ago, there were so many people crying about this who are pretending that they weren't now. For instance, someone says here, this will become the all-time poster child for games with one fatal flaw. But even that moniker doesn't do justice to how ludicrous the content is. You can't even claim making it this way was a cop-out or a way to make development easier. It's obvious from the demo that they put an extremely high amount of effort into making the camera angles and animations a very deliberate and specific way. Every last person in the credits would have been in on the whole thing, and this is an example I showed people 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it's one of many. This thread, for instance, here on Reset Era, it's got 300 plus pages. Many of them talk about this. The idea that people weren't upset, that is the fantasy. People are saying it. Maybe they've become self-aware. They've realized getting this upset about Eve just makes someone a weirdo when they're trying to backpedal now. This person who summarized it all gives some good examples from Reddit as well. For instance, I'm fine with this. At least being horny is harmless, unlike those chuds screeching about how Stellar Blade is the savior of gaming for sticking it to those woke game devs. Now, maybe some people were doing that, but the majority were responding. They were defending the game and the devs from people who literally lost their mind. They were harassing the Stellar Blade studio and so on. The only controversy I saw is whenever this game got posted, knuckle draggers would brigade the thread about how people are woke and dumb shit like that. Yeah, I only ever saw people hyping up the game as an anti-woke masterpiece, and everyone rolling their eyes at those sad losers, lol. I'm glad people are recognizing this. Saw so many dumb shit posts about the woke crowd is ruining gaming, and nothing from the side they're claiming is complaining. It was the most one-sided controversy I've seen in a while. It was downright bizarre. It's all nice, but it's blatantly untrue. These people get in their echo chamber, create their own little narrative that's totally fake. Again, most people who were putting Stellar Blade maybe on a pedestal, they were talking positively about it, they were doing it in the context of so many people melting down about the game. They didn't want it to exist, and they weren't happy for anyone to enjoy it either. Anyone who said, looks like a good game, I might buy it. There was immediately these people insulting them. You're a sexist bigot, you need to be stopped. Again, harassing the developers behind the game. If that wasn't going on, if you believe these people and you think it was a one-sided controversy, meaning the only people talking about Stellar Blade were saying it was anti-woke and all of that, if that was true, why did the developers multiple times have to come out and defend themselves? Justify Eve, the main character, show, hey, she was based on a real-life person. Even then it wasn't good enough. You still had the same weirdos banging on and on. They wouldn't rest until the game was taken down, which of course is never going to happen. It'll probably be quite successful. These idiots, they always lose. The only reason they're doing this, and they're pretending that the controversy from them never happened, that they were never upset about Stellar Blade and the male gaze and all of that, is because it's not actually consistent with their behavior. They love simping for video game characters. We saw it with Hades 2 only 2 seconds ago. They suddenly start talking about, oh, I'm drooling at the mouth, mummy, I can't stop, this is incredible. And then they thought, hang on, we are hypocrites, this is quite obvious. So now the narrative is changing and they've moved on completely. This is what they love to do as well. They get mad about something for all of 2 seconds and then they move on to the next thing. They never care. All they care about is being part of the pack. They don't want to be excluded from that pack, so they'll always just go where the wind blows, the next controversy. They don't give a toss about Stellar Blade, so these people will scuttle off, but the idea that the people who are against DEI in games, that they were the ones obsessing, they couldn't stop talking about Stellar Blade, it's just nonsense. Most people were responding, they were defending Stellar Blade, and they knew the more positively they spoke about it, the more it would make these people mad, and they would go tomato face, the meltdowns would continue. It's exactly what happened. People would say, Eve looks attractive, I'm excited, this is great. These people would come at you with insults, they couldn't stop, they couldn't help themselves, and it went round in a circle like that. That was the truth. The controversy only came from people who were criticizing it, not people who are excited for it. But for most people, they just want a fun game, an entertaining game, and Stellar Blade kind of represents that, because it's not trying to re-educate you, it's not calling you a bad person because you don't hold certain political beliefs, and that is why I do hope it sells well. I hope it tells the industry this is what sells. Not the nonsense, not the crap that these people believe in. Again, they're very loud, but they don't really buy games. And I think the success of, again, Hogwarts Legacy, maybe Stellar Blade, it's going to show that. Maybe Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 later in the year as well. I do just want to end on something quickly. There was another controversy. It kind of relates to this, because again, these people are acting like they don't get mad about this stuff, and it's the anti-woke crowd who won't shut up. They just want to enjoy things. Yeah, nice try. And we've got this again, where in the game, there was some graffiti. Stellar Blade has a hard R shop that Sony will patch out day one of release. Now, hard R, if you ask basically anyone in real life what hard R means, they won't answer with what these people think, which is it refers to the N-word. Regular everyday people don't know about this weird internet slang. So the idea that someone did this on purpose, it is a massive reach. It's not true. It was an accident. If you want to get outraged by it, whatever. But they announced they're going to get rid of it. I don't think it's a massive deal. Some might say that getting rid of this is kind of pandering to them. It kind of is, but I think it's a really small thing, not sort of a hill to die on. So whatever. But they're getting rid of it, and you still get people getting outraged. Jake Steinberg, who used to work at Polygon, I believe, he says, if only there was some kind of group you could contract to give media, I don't know, sensitivity read, and avoid creating work like this for yourself in the future. That translates to, you should have hired Sweet Baby Inc. to work on this game, and if you did, this would never have happened. So we've kind of come full circle. When Stellar Blade, the controversy hit, it was just at the time that people became aware of Sweet Baby Inc. and all the damage they and similar organizations were doing. So the truth really is someone like Jake is just super upset about what happened with Sweet Baby Inc., and that was probably a big part of why they were outraged about Stellar Blade. It all sort of connected together. They were just upset that their worldview was not going to just easily be pushed into games anymore, because the average gamer was now aware, and they're not going to buy crap that has the DEI nonsense inserted into it really obviously. It ruins the game. So they're still upset about it. There's other posts like this that I found. Someone saying, oh, this is perfect. The game people were saying is perfect and not ruined by Sweet Baby Inc., showing the exact reason for why Sweet Baby Inc. exists in the first place, due to a fuck-up. Trying to imply that if Sweet Baby Inc. had have been hired, this wouldn't have happened. The hard R, which again is a total coincidence. It means absolutely nothing. And let's be totally real, if Sweet Baby Inc. were hired, they wouldn't have even noticed this. Their video game pedigree, their qualifications, it's like that Cuphead journalist who couldn't get past the tutorial. The people involved in Sweet Baby, they don't care about games. The whole thing is about re-education. So is all of this outrage. Everything to do with Stellar Blade. It comes from one place only. They don't want gamers to be able to enjoy things, and they want the average gamer to have to think like them. They're simps themselves. Bayonetta, Hades 2, they're going back to all that, which is why they've moved on from Stellar Blade. That contradicts the usual interests that they have. They took it out on everyone. They're having to backtrack because this is just who these people are. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.